Thank you, Chair. Ms. Alexson, as consolidated trends continue in the banking sector, we should be supporting mergers that enable regional banks to grow and better serve their communities in the face of regulatory and market pressures. But as Congress considers reforms, can you explain how bank mergers, especially those involving kind of the mid-sized regional banks, help promote a healthier, more competitive banking system?
Sure, there's a number of reasons why mid-sized banks enter into combinations, but those strategic mergers can create economies of scale that offset regulatory and compliance costs, and this creates space for more innovation and investment in systems and technologies that we all know are essential moving forward. As I just noted before, it diversifies their product offerings and their geographic markets, and that creates a more stable, diversified funding base and asset mix that just creates a more stable, strong financial institution, and that in turn allows them to be more competitive against large banks with national footprints, but it also simultaneously allows them to stay competitive within the local geography that they grew up in.
So in your role as you advise financial institutions, do you think it's time we modernize how competition is evaluated in the bank mergers to reflect a broader range of financial service providers in the market, so decisions are based on real-world dynamics?
Yeah, I believe that there's a general consensus that the current analysis used to review the competitive factors should be modernized. I talked about this a little bit in my written testimony, but we've clearly transitioned away from a very competitively isolated banking market into something that's totally different. And the historic approach that the agencies used, including the Department of Justice, to evaluate mergers is completely dependent on market deposits. So we need to look at a wider array of competitors, non-bank competitors, and online deposits in order to get a true accurate picture of what the competitive market looks like.
So, Chairman, this is the point in the hearing where I promote my own piece of legislation, and that is why I plan to introduce the Bank Competition Modernization Act, which would categorize credit unions, fintechs, farm credit companies for the purposes of concentration analysis in bank mergers. The Bank Competition Modernization Act brings much-needed reform to how bank mergers are reviewed by making sure regulators consider the full scope of today's competitive financial landscape. Right now, community and regional banks are being evaluated as if they're the only complete piece in these regions, ignoring the massive growth of credit unions, fintech, and farm credit institutions that offer similar products. The bill ensures that all major players are accounted for in merger reviews, creating a fairer, more accurate process. By modernizing these outdated standards, we can reduce unnecessary regulatory roadblocks and support local banks and promote financial systems. I'll just ask a final question of Ms. Alexson. Can you discuss some of the implications of the OCC and the FDIC's 2024 guidance, and how would that have had on, what effect would it have had on bank merger application reviews if it had not been for the Trump's administrators, the rescissions that now are happening?
So those policy statements created a chilling effect on bank mergers. It's not the only factor that led to a decrease in bank consolidation over the last number of years. There's been economic factors that have supported that as well. But having inconsistency in policies with respect to bank mergers only created more insecurity with whether or not to proceed with the transaction. They're costly, they're time consuming. If you're not going to get favorable treatment, then it's nerve-wracking for institutions to proceed. I think the other thing that those policy statements did is they kind of created a presumption that parties were starting from a negative position. So if you're filing an application and everybody's starting from a neutral position and you have to justify your factors, that's how the system has always worked. But if you're starting from behind, if there's an assumption that the transaction is bad to begin with, I mean, it's just the further you have to travel. And it's very difficult to draft guidance. Every word means something. It's like legislation. Every word means something. And so I think just guidance has to be very careful that you're not inadvertently creating presumptions like that.
Thank you very much. I yield back.